And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Mintier versus Mintier, step forward, please.
22-year-old Catherine Mintier is suing her mother-in-law, Melissa Mintier, for unpaid loans to buy a dress and to pay for a plane ticket to New York.
Miss Mintier, this is your mother-in-law.
Yes, that is correct.
And according to your complaint, you made a series of loans to her?
Yes.
She hasn't paid you back.
That is correct.
Your mother-in-law, she says, well, you're her daughter-in-law, so you're supposed to help her out. And then she said that you had her son arrested for domestic violence, so she's not paying you back any money.
Oh, okay.
She's wrong.
Right.
When did you have her son arrested?
I didn't have her son arrested.
Was he arrested?
He was arrested. I did not have him arrested.
Was there a domestic violence incident?
No. No domestic violence actually occurred, though that was the allegation.
Well, tell me why you think she would blame you for having him arrested.
Because anytime anything happens with her son, it's my fault.
Where's her son?
Her son is right here.
That would be you?
Yes. He's a perfect angel in her eyes, so he couldn't do anything wrong.
He doesn't look like an angel.
He's my angel.
Maybe your angel, but he doesn't look like an angel. How many times have you been arrested?
Stand
up when you talk to me.
That would be my first time being arrested.
For what?
I was arrested for the domestic violence, but...
Domestic violence on whom?
My wife, I guess.
Well, what happened, sir?
We got into an argument, and I don't know, some issues just came up, and I got a claim filed against me, and I ended up getting pulled over at McDonald's or something like that, and they pulled up a warrant that I actually had outstanding.
A warrant for what?
The domestic violence charge that I was given from Pataskala.
And you were quickly let go?
Yeah, I stayed one night in county and was released.
Are you living together now?
Yes.
Who do you work for?
I work for her father as a chimney sweep. My previous job before that was at Circle K, but I actually quit that so I could stay home and take care of the children.
Whose children?
Her children, but yeah.
How many children do you have?
2.
How old are they?
1.5 and 6.
6-year-old is your child?
No, neither of them are mine.
I didn't ask you anything. Let's start with this premise, Mrs. Mintier. Parents don't borrow from children. Children take, parents give. Who do you work for?
I don't. I'm on disability.
What's the nature of your disability?
Mental.
How long have you been receiving disability?
About 10 years.
How many children do you have?
2.
How old are they?
18 and 5.
Well, your mental disability didn't impair you from having another child. Do you take medication for your disability?
Yes, I do.
Were you taking medication when your 5-year-old was born?
Yes, I was.
Is your 5-year-old normal?
Yes, he is.
Where is his father?
At work right now, I would assume. He's in the picture.
Does he live with you?
No.
Does he pay support?
Yes, he does.
How much money did you take from your daughter-in-law?
Well, I don't really feel that I owe her anything.
I didn't ask you what you feel. I'm not interested in what you feel. People who work for disability care about what you feel, Miss Mintier. I do not. I asked you how much money you took from your daughter-in-law.
I didn't take anything. She gave it to me.
One gives and one takes. Do you understand?
She assisted me with my rent.
I didn't ask you that.
$500 for my rent.
Good. That's one of the things that you took from her. $500 for your rent. What else did you take from her?
She purchased me a dress for the wedding.
How much was that?
It was actually a number of things that we bought at the bridal store that we did settle on the amount of $200 that she would pay me back.
When did you settle on the amount at the bridal store?
When we'd made the purchase.
Is that what she spent on her dress?
It was actually over that. As I'm sure she'll tell you, my dog ate a pair of her shoes one time, so the bill was actually more than $200, but to compensate for that, we settled on the amount of $200.
What else did you give her?
The airfare. She wanted to travel to see a friend, so
What kind of friend?
One of her friends, I guess, from New York.
Male or female?
Oh, male.
Why did you go to New York to visit a friend?
To get away.
Where was your 5-year-old?
He was at home.
With whom?
With my son. Was watching him.
Son works.
At the time, he was not. That's one of the times he was living with me, back and forth between her house and mine.
How much was the airfare?
$263, I think.
So what you're telling me is your daughter-in-law, from whom your son was estranged, they weren't even living together, gave you money so that you could go and visit a boyfriend in New York? Is that what you're telling me? Just a second. I want to understand this. You said your son was estranged from his wife because he was living with you, so he was there to take care of your 5-year-old. And your daughter-in-law, from whom your son was estranged, I assume for good reason, according to you, gave you as a gift money so that you could go and have a good time in New York.
It was their fault I was stressed.
No, madam. It's your fault that you're stressed.
She took my son from me. I don't think I owe her anything.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she does have a mental disability. I'm not sure. Let me explain something to you, sir. How old are you?
18.
And how old are you?
22.
Your mother has a personality disorder. I don't know about a mental disability that prevents her from working. She can certainly travel to see a boyfriend. She can certainly make a baby and take care of a baby. So as far as mental disability is concerned, I think the only people who have a disability are the people who decided that she deserves disability. That's not what I'm here to make a decision about. You have to make a judgment. You got married?
Yes.
You plan on staying married?
Yes.
Good. First of all, this is a court. It's not a basketball court. So when you come to court, you look like an adult. You don't dress like a baby. Do you understand?
Yes.
You're dressing like a baby to come to court.
I apologize.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to wear in your wardrobe?
Yes, I do.
Well, then you should have worn it. You owe your daughter-in-law $963. Pay it!
Now, it's case number 336 on the calendar in the matter of Keenis versus Jaworski.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Miss Keenis, this is your daughter.
Yes, it is.
Does she have any siblings?
Yes, she does.
How many?
2, a brother and a sister. She's the oldest.
Is she a cute baby?
Gorgeous.
Is she a nice baby?
Yeah, very well-mannered.
Must have been, because you had 2 more.
Yeah.
Well, you're not getting along so much anymore, and it is your claim that your daughter owes you the balance of 2 loans. One loan that you made to her several years ago in order to permit her to open up a business. That loan was for $10,000, and she's paid back a substantial part of that loan.
That's correct.
Over the course of the last 3 or 4 years. You were opening a beauty salon, and you were able to do that through the loan from your mom.
Exactly.
The second loan was for $2,000, and that was more recently, and that was to permit her to get an attorney because she was going through a divorce.
Correct.
With regard to that $2,000, your daughter says there was never any discussion of a loan, that you were ecstatic that she was divorcing the husband, and you agreed to help her secure an attorney so that she could
That's not true, Your Honor.
So that she could successfully conclude the divorce process. So let's deal with the first loan. When was that, Ms. Jaworski?
It would have been in August because I bought the business. I took possession
August of what year?
03.
And it was for $10,000?
Yes.
Was there supposed to be interest paid on the loan?
No.
Well, tell me how you were going to make this loan with no interest.
I knew that she had money left over from my grandmother's estate.
Put your hand down. What do you mean left over?
Well, my grandmother didn't take care of things how you're supposed to, and so all of the money that was left out of her estate went to the state for her care. But there was somehow this money left over that the state didn't know
much
about.
Money?
I knew of $10,000.
Okay, go ahead.
And so I asked my mom if I could borrow that $10,000 from her because I knew it was in the bank sitting there, and so that there wouldn't be interest or anything on it because we already had the money.
Well, there would be interest on it. If she loans you $10,000, then she's losing the interest on $10,000 for as long as it takes you to pay her back.
There was never any discussion of it.
But you do understand that.
I understand what you're saying, but in my mind, it wasn't that way.
I don't care what was
just
in your
sitting
mind.
there.
What I'm telling you is, if your mother takes the money out of the bank, then she's losing interest on it, so there is a loss. I also don't understand why she should make this loan to you without interest when you have a brother and a sister. Why would she just let you have it all yourself?
Because it was just going to be a loan. It was going to be paid back.
In what period of time?
There was no set period of time because when you open a business, you never know. Most businesses fail in the first 5 years. And
Well,
so,
what happens if your business failed? You mean you weren't going to pay her back the money?
Well, no, I never intended not to pay her back the money.
But you just said most businesses fail within the first few years. What happens if your business failed?
Well, if my business failed, I would still have to pay her, but it was just to help me out. It was my mom helping me out. It was family helping family out.
But she didn't take that money out of the bank.
At the last minute, she had decided that she was going to pull it off of a credit card because she was nervous about the state finding out that she still had that money.
You mean she didn't think that they would find out about it if she kept it in the bank? Go ahead. Keep going. Keep going. I'm listening to the story. So she wanted to take it off of her credit card rather than take it out of the bank because she was afraid that the state would find out.
Well, she was worried that
Go
they
ahead.
would find out and then she wouldn't have the money sitting there.
Keep going.
No, that's really what happened.
Keep going.
And so at the last minute, she decided to pull it off of her credit card because it was 0 interest. And either way, it wouldn't matter. There was
Zero
no
interest for how long? Forever?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? You're in business. You don't have 0 interest forever, maybe for a year or two. but not forever.
I never saw any of the credit card information. I have no idea, to tell you the truth.
Well, let's understand this. You knew at the time that you accepted this loan that it was coming off of a credit card. Is that right, Ms. Javorsky?
At the last minute, yes.
I don't care if it's the last minute or the last second. You always could say no.
I know, but I'd already given
Listen to me. You always could say no.
Mm-hmm. And then if I had...
Who cares what happens if you had? If you had, you go to work in somebody else's beauty parlor. Now, there was zero interest. And as a business person, you know that zero interest isn't forever. It's for a fixed period of time. Which was for how long?
2 years.
That brings us up to 2005. As of August 2005, how much money did you give her?
I haven't split it out. These are just the statements that I have until then.
Well,
I didn't add that up.
I don't do that. Math wasn't my strong suit.
Me either.
You either? Then you
No.
shouldn't be in business. But if you didn't pay her back in the 2-year period of time when there was zero interest on the credit card, you owe her whatever the interest is. End of discussion. Now, how much is on the credit card?
On the credit.
Not with the $2,000 for the lawyer. I'm not dealing with that yet.
Well, it was all on one credit card, and the balance due on it when she stopped making the payment was $4,995.
Show me.
Ma'am, before you roll, can I say something else?
Well, this is not the last one. That's after I've made a payment, but
Can I see that bird, please?
I've made like the last 6 or 7 payments on it.
Now, you wanted to say something, Ms. Javorsky?
I do, because the interest situation.
Mm-hmm.
She had said when we put it on that credit card that if the interest came due, that she would either take the money out of the estate and put it back on there. So I would never, the agreement was never any interest. It really wasn't.
Listen to me. You knew at the time she was taking out an interest-free loan for 2 years in order to cover this loan that she was making for you. You had 2 years to pay her back. You didn't. Then interest develops, and whether she takes the money out of the bank and loses interest, you still have to pay. Now tell me about the $2,000 for the lawyer.
When we were going through the divorce, or when Chris...
When was that?
That would have been in 2000, I believe, 5.
Now, by 2005, we were starting to get some interest on this loan.
Okay.
Keep going.
Okay, well, so then we're going through our divorce, and I didn't have the money to retain a lawyer. At first, we were just going to do it ourselves. And I was telling her that he was going to try to get custody of the children from me, and that I needed to retain a lawyer. And what I don't understand is she hated...
Just don't tell me anything other than what happened. Not what you don't understand, not what you do understand. Not interested in what you understood. Tell me what happened.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She's seeing my ex-husband.
That's not true. I'm seeing my grandchildren.
She's been seeing her grandchildren at your ex-husband's house, which ticked you off.
And later today,
Where's her cat?
That cat ran around outside. She lost that cat the first 2 weeks she was there. She couldn't find it. I don't have no cat.
The cat was still there.
Melissa Kina says her daughter, Jamie Javorsky, owes for 2 unpaid loans. Jamie says her mother is conspiring with her ex-husband to ruin her life.
Now, you were crying to your mother that your ex-husband was going to try to get custody of the children, and you couldn't afford a lawyer. You didn't have any money.
Basically. And
Right.
she said not to worry
And?
about it, that she would take care of it. And she sent me 2 checks
From where?
from her credit card.
And?
And she wasn't worried about me paying her back. I didn't know how I was going to end up financially after the divorce.
How did you end up financially after the divorce?
I ended up giving him basically everything. I got $20,000 equity out of the house, of which I gave her a check for $4,000.
You did give her a big check. Mm-hmm. So if you got $20,000 from the sale of the house, why didn't you pay her back everything that you owed her?
Because I was buying another house, and I was trying to have a little nest egg in case when you're employed by yourself, it's always good to have a little money back up.
Well, but if the only nest egg your mother had was the $10,000 she had of your grandmother's money, why should you have a nest egg and not her?
I don't know. I've really thought about it that way.
But isn't that a nice way to think about it, Ms. Javorsky? I mean, how old are you?
I'm 37.
And how old is your mother?
My mom must be 57.
Yesterday.
57. So if somebody has to sort of struggle to put together a nest egg, isn't it easier for you, who's starting a new business, to put together a nest egg than your mother, who's 57? Especially since you spent the money. So it's real nice of you to want to have a nest egg all by yourself. But if what you're suggesting is that your mother said, well, if you don't pay the note back in the 2 years, that it's interest-free, you'll take the money out of your nest egg.
No, that wasn't the way it is. I think.
Well,
you're
that's what you just told me.
But
I'm just following what you told me.
I think you're misinterpreting it.
No, that's what you told me.
No, it's not.
Does that sound what you just told me?
Sounds like what she told you.
That she would take the money out of her nest egg and pay off the credit card and wait for you to finish putting your nest egg together so you would pay her. Duh.
If you have a business and you don't have operating capital and you don't have money to buy and bring things in and out, you can't run a business. And so that's what I used the other part of that money for. Was
That's not what you just told me.
It is. I had it.
No,
in a
that's
little,
not what you just told me.
I had it set aside so if something happened with the business that I could keep it going.
That's your nest egg.
Well, I had to because if
You owe
I
your
lose,
mother $4,000.
If I lose the shop,
You owe your mother $4,000. And I gather that the reason she's here is because you stopped paying her, according to your mother, because you had an estranged relationship for a while. Why, I don't know.
Because she's seeing my ex-husband.
Well, that's what you say. That's what you say.
That's not true. I'm seeing my grandchildren.
That's what you say. I think that makes it very convenient for you, Ms. Jaworski, because she wasn't seeing her grandchildren, and she wrote a letter, according to her, to her grandson when he was at his father's house, and his father called her and said, if you want to see the boys, you can see them, and she's been seeing them at your ex-husband's house, which ticked you off. So you stopped paying the loan. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,000.
Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
There will not ever be a relationship.
I was done when she stopped making the payments.
It's not about the money. It's about the things that she's done.
It's just the way she is. She's very self-centered.
The fact that she's seeing my ex-husband.
She's whacked in the head. He's got a girlfriend.
I just think it's odd that he would go spend a week with her when they've had no relationship and they hated each other.
This is the second or third time she's gone around and slandered me, and I'm done with it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Highmark versus Rigsby. Step forward, please.
25-year-old Anna Highmark is suing her ex-boyfriend, Eddie Rigsby Jr., for the return of her belongings. Anna says Eddie threw her out of their apartment and then disposed of her property.
Ms. Highmark, what was your relationship with the defendant when you moved in with him?
We were friends. At that point, there was no other involvement.
According to what I'm reading between the lines, you moved in with him and relocated from one jurisdiction to another.
Correct.
And you traveled with a child.
Correct.
How old is your child?
She's 6.
Where had you been living?
In South Dakota, in Madison.
And where did you move to, sir?
Quad Cities, Illinois.
Who did you know in Illinois?
I knew nobody, but my apartment had flooded and I had to move either way, and I disliked South Dakota tremendously. And
who lives in South Dakota?
All of my family.
So you were going to Illinois with a 6-year-old child, with someone with whom you were no longer romantically involved, just a friend, leaving your entire family and support system there. Did you have a job?
Within a week of moving to Illinois.
You found the job?
Yes.
What were you doing?
Working at the Army base.
Are you still there?
No, that was a temporary job. I've worked a series of temporary jobs since then.
Are you still in Illinois?
I'm in Iowa, across the border.
Who were you living with?
A friend.
Male friend or female friend?
Male.
When did you meet him?
When I moved to Illinois, about 3 weeks after.
And your daughter? Where's her father?
Her father is in South Dakota still.
Who's this?
This is my daughter's grandmother.
Her father's mother?
Yes.
Is your claim that when you moved with Mr. Rigsby to Illinois, you moved into his apartment, and that at some point he threw you out of the apartment and discarded your property?
My claim is that we got an apartment together where I was going to stay for about 2 months.
Was there a lease on the apartment?
In his name.
So then you didn't get an apartment together. He got an apartment.
With my money as well.
So what happened?
The day we arrived in Illinois, he began threatening me, saying he was going to have random women come over and beat me up, and when I was at work, he was going to throw my things out on the street, and a variety of things like that. And he got into my jewelry box a number of times, and 3 days in a row, I called and politely asked him not to dig in my jewelry box anymore.
Where did you call him?
On his cell phone, which I had gotten for him.
Why didn't you have this discussion when he came home? Was he not staying at home?
No, he wasn't.
When did he stop staying in his apartment?
The day he got it.
Why?
Because we didn't get along.
Where was he living?
Random women's apartments.
Who paid the rent?
It was split 50-50. There was 2 months free rent. There was a $450 deposit. I put down $200 on the deposit, and he put down $250.
So the first 2 months that you were there was no rent?
I was only there for 26 days.
So what you're telling me is you paid $200 to live there for 26 days?
Correct.
Okay. When did you come home and take her stuff and put it out at the curb, sir?
She was there for about a month. It was 2 days before the month was up. I put it on the curb. It wasn't on the curb. It was in front of the door. And this was like, I put most of it out there.
You told me curb. You wrote curb,
I meant,
sir.
Well, door, I meant.
Well, tell me the circumstances surrounding you
After,
doing
let's see,
that.
I put all the little stuff out first. Hoping she'd come back because I didn't want to put the TV. She had a little 1980s TV and a little bamboo chair, and I didn't want to put it out there because I didn't want to steal it. A month and a half goes by, she still hasn't been there.
Are you telling me that she left the apartment?
She called the cops on me. After the month was up, I told her she'd stay there 1 month. I said, you have to get your own place. My landlord didn't even want her there. She hit my garage. She almost hit my landlord driving around.
A month is gone. And what happened?
I told her she had to go.
So did she leave?
Yeah, she called the cops on me.
She called the cops on you?
He said I was an intruder in my own home.
Okay. After the police arrived, what happened, Miss Highmark?
They said that there was no reason to arrest him.
There wasn't.
Besides his threatening me and bringing over people saying they were going to beat me up and taking
Miss Highmark,
things
get
of
over it. I don't believe you, period. Keep going. So you
And
called
so
the police.
I called
and
the
the police
police.
said the lease to the apartment is in his name. They're not going to put him out. And what did you do?
I said I need a safe place to go. And they put me in a domestic violence shelter.
Perfect. So you left that night?
Yes.
When did you come back for your things?
Every day for the next month and a half.
Tell me how you went back.
I went back looking for his vehicle. His vehicle was not there. He was not there. So I left the note on his door saying I would be there the following Sunday at 2 p.m. I showed up and he was not there. So I went over there consistently every day looking for his vehicle until finally one day I did find his vehicle there and called the police and had them knock on the door and ask if I could retrieve my belongings. And he said he no longer had them, although they were visible behind him.
What was visible behind him? A pot, you said.
There's crock pot, knife blocks, some dishes.
You mean you saw that from the door where you were standing?
What was in the kitchen I could see, because it was the kitchen door.
Okay.
This is the list right here of items.
Let me take a look at it.
You
didn't take your cat?
I was going to a domestic violence shelter. I was not able to.
Did you see her cat?
No. That cat ran around outside all the time, and that cat was never around. She lost that cat the first 2 weeks she was there. She couldn't find it. I don't have no cat, and if I...
The cat was still there. The next day when I returned, the only belongings that he had put out on the curb were the empty litter box with the scoop and the cat food and a folder of papers.
So yeah, so if I got a cat just running around doing this thing all
that's
over my
ridiculous.
house.
All of this stuff is maybe worth $1,000. Maybe, if I believe it's all there. $5,000 never happened. Discard her stuff. You can't put it out. Do you understand?
See, this is the thing. She knew I worked during the day. She knew when to come and get her stuff. I work anywhere from 8 to 12 hours a day. She knows, come at night.
Listen to me. You go to a local police precinct and you say, listen, this is what I have. I have all this junk, because all this is
Junk.
junk.
Yeah.
But it's her junk. It's not your junk. So you don't have the right to throw out her junk. You understand that?
I understand that.
It's annoying. She was annoying. I get it. But you have no right to dump her stuff. You have to preserve it for a reasonable period of time, considering the fact that she was removed from the house with her child, limited window of time. So you have to take reasonable care, especially since she did pay $200 towards the rent, right?
Yeah.
None of this stuff is worth, according to you, $6,574. Not on a great day is this.
I don't know what she's got up there,
$6,000.
but what she left was a 1980s TV,
Yeah.
a piece of junk bamboo chair, some CDs, and a
200 CDs.
crock pot.
What'd you do with her CDs?
All that stuff was gone. I don't even listen to the CDs. Not even the type of music I listen to.
Fine. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all. Step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Benavente versus Lanza, step forward, please.
21-year-old Monique Benavente is suing the father of her child, 24-year-old Carlos Lanza, for 2 truck payments. Carlos says Monique offered to help him out.
How old are you, Miss Benavente?
21.
How old are you, Mr. Lanza?
24.
2 of you have a child together.
Correct.
How old is that child?
5 months, 2 weeks.
Is that your only child?
Yes, ma'am.
What about you, Mr. Lanza?
Yes.
Your only child?
Excuse me?
What?
He told me he had another son.
You have another child?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever tell he had another child?
I did.
Why?
I thought I had a child with the girl. That pregnancy test never came back and said it was mine. So it wasn't, shouldn't have told her something like that because it wasn't irrelevant. That's not what he told me.
This is all getting too unseemly for me. Mr. Lanza, you're 24 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
You've had maybe 1, possibly 2 out-of-wedlock children. That's enough.
He also told me that he was 27.
Well, he gets confused. In any event, you should have been smart enough to use some birth control so that we wouldn't be here involved. And who is this lady?
My mother.
How many children in your family?
There's 4 altogether.
Are you the oldest, the youngest, or in the middle?
In the middle.
All the other children live home?
No, ma'am.
You think your mother signed on to take care of a new baby?
No.
You live at home?
Yes, ma'am.
Look at it this way. It might keep you young. Then again, it might not.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You were pregnant, and you only had one car at the time.
No, that's not true.
Oh, yes, it is.
Okay, fine.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Monique Benavente says the father of her child, Carlos Lanza, owes for 2 truck payments she made on his behalf.
Now, in addition to making a mistake of having a child with him, you gave him 2 truck payments because he was behind in his truck payments, a truck that is in his mother's name. In your mother's name?
Yes, ma'am.
You're very polite. Did you ask her so politely when you needed the truck payments?
I got behind. The work was slow, and she was getting a check from her settlement from a car accident she was in a couple years ago, and it was our only vehicle that we had at the time.
That's
And
not true.
I was driving her everywhere, from San Jose to Modesto to her doctor appointments, you know, shopping, all that stuff.
Where were you living?
Behind. Excuse me?
Where were you living?
San Jose?
With her?
Yes.
Just the 2 of you?
No, we were in a cousin's house.
Whose cousin?
My cousin.
And?
And after that, we moved in with my dad because I was working with him, general contractor. And, you know, work was too slow. And she offered to help me pay the truck payments. That way we wouldn't lose the only vehicle that we had. She wasn't working at the time because her back and being pregnant, she couldn't be at a salon for 8-10 hours, you know.
That's not true.
Don't interrupt him again. How long did you live together where you supported her?
Maybe 9 months.
How long did you live together when you were not working, Miss Benavente?
Around 9 months, off and on.
And he was supporting you?
No, ma'am. I worked, I did hair, and I paid some of our bills. I paid for a lot of our food, and I did support him in finding a job, paying his gas money that he would use for other things that I found out later.
And what did he pay for?
He paid for some of what I just said. He paid for some of the food, some of the Macy's
What
bills.
did you pay for, Mr. Lanza?
Actually, I got her the phone. It was a T-Mobile phone. I was paying the monthly payments. You know, I bought her food, I bought her clothes, I bought her shoes. Anything she needed, I got it. You know, when I was working in a contract, I would actually leave work.
Doesn't anybody pay rent?
Yeah, I was paying rent, of course. I was paying.
Where were you paying the rent?
I was paying my cousin $500 a month.
Is that right?
No, we got kicked out of his cousins because he wasn't paying rent.
I did pay. The whole situation was that we were there for almost 4 months. On the 3rd month, I spoke to my cousin, look, man, my work has slowed down. I could give you $250 now and then $250 towards the end of the month. He said, well, you know what? You know, I'm behind too. I just lost my job, you know, so you're going to have to do something. I said, well, I don't want to owe you money. So I told him, you know what? We could just leave. I'll just go and...
I got it. Now, Ms. Benavente, why don't you tell me how it came about that you made these 2 truck payments? You were pregnant.
I was pregnant.
And you only had 1 car at the time.
No, that's not true.
Oh, yes, it is.
Okay, fine.
And you had 1 car at the time. And he was driving you to and from your medical appointments?
Sometimes.
Listen, unless you're stuck in his cousin's house or in his father's house, then wherever you had to go, somebody was taking you.
I was stuck there. My mom would pick me up. He would drop me off at my mom's house, and she would take me to my appointments, and sometimes he would meet us
So he would
there.
drop you off at your mother's house. I mean, first you lied to me and said to me that you had 2 cars. Now you're telling me that he would drop you off at your mother's house so she could take you to the appointments. Let me hear about the 2 truck payments, Miss Benavente.
Okay, so he couldn't hold a job, and he asked me to borrow them. He agreed to pay me back, and I believed him.
No. Tell me what he said to you. Where were you? Where was he? Tell me about it.
We were at his dad's house, and he asked me, he said, look, I can't work unless I have a car. It's going to get repossessed. My mom's credit's going to get ruined. Can you please help me out? And he said, I promise I will pay you back when I get a job. When he got a job, he never paid me back.
Did you tell you would pay her back?
No, ma'am. The whole thing about us living together means, I mean, I would think when you...
No, don't tell me what you think.
Anyways.
Tell me what was said.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Go ahead.
Well, I told her, you know, I need these truck payments because I'm not going to lose the only vehicle. So she said, fine. We made the payments and everything was fine.
In what month did you make the payments?
It was either late December, early January.
And when did the two of you separate?
June.
In June?
Yes, ma'am.
Between January and June, did he pay for the truck?
He didn't pay me anything.
And you lived together?
Yes.
And it was after you separated that you sued him, is that right?
Yes, but I continuously asked him to please pay me back.
You were living together as a couple, madam, at the time that he made these two truck payments. He was paying rent, he was paying bills, and I assume that you were working marginally before your baby was born, if at all, at least in the last 3 months. Somebody had to support you. Somebody had to be paying the bills. That was not you, and it was not your mother. And I'm quick to note that you and the defendant were not living with your mother, but you were living with the defendant in his cousin's house or in his father's house. Put your hand down. You weren't there. And it doesn't make sense to me that living in that kind of situation, expecting a baby, and living as a couple, he would say to you, could you loan me this money and I will pay you back, when he was in fact supporting you. Your case is dismissed, that's all.
Yeah, this is case number 270 on the calendar in the matter of Norris versus Norrin. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Miss Norris, it is your claim that the defendant owes you for some rent, a small loan, and the damage to your apartment. The defendant says that there was never an agreement to pay you anything, and she never borrowed any money. How do you know each other?
We work together.
Where?
River Birch Senior Living.
And what do you do there?
We're both caregivers.
What was she doing living in your apartment?
Well, we became friends, kind of, and she'd been telling me she had a hard time getting money for rent, and she'd been kicked out of her apartment, and she'd been staying with some of her friends, and she was unhappy living where she was, and I felt really bad for her. She has a 5-year-old son, so I figured, you know, I'd let her move in with me for a couple months, and I told her at first, you know, don't worry about paying anything, just buy groceries, do some cooking and some cleaning, and, you know, save up your money, get your own place. And I was trying to help her out. It ended up taking 6 months.
So far, is that right?
No, Your Honor, it's not.
Okay. Well, tell me your version of how it came about that you moved into her apartment, which you did.
Right, I did.
And you moved into her apartment with your child.
I did.
Who else was living in her apartment?
At the time, she had another boyfriend besides Brandon.
So just the plaintiff, her then boyfriend, you and your child.
Correct.
And you moved into her apartment, according to you, with the understanding that you would not be paying rent.
Correct.
Which was very nice of her.
Correct.
What had you ever done for her?
She was one of my friends.
What? That's not my question. What had you ever done for her?
I was just a friend to her, I guess.
So the answer is you did nothing for her.
I guess so.
Okay? So that her gesture in feeling sorry for your living situation and inviting you to live in her home rent-free was a very nice thing.
Okay, Your Honor, but she had paid the rent in a year in advance. I moved in a month after she and her boyfriend had moved in.
You mean the rent was already paid?
Yeah, she had her rent paid for a full year. There was no agreement on the rent.
Open up your listening ears and listen to me, because, you know, when I start to get agitated, he gets very, very nervous. When you moved into the apartment, it was a nice gesture on her part to let you and your kid move in there rent-free.
I understand that.
Well, then say yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Now that we've got that settled. Keep going.
She ended up staying there for 6 months. There was a whole bunch of stuff that happened.
Well, at the end of 2 months.
At the end of 2 months.
Which is what you gave her.
She still hadn't saved up any money.
Your Honor, I had already had an apartment that I was in the process of getting.
Oh, great. That was after 2 months?
Yeah. Well, this was actually within a month after I moved into there. I was in the process of getting an apartment. I had put a down payment on an apartment and was in the process, and she kicked her other boyfriend out and had asked if I wanted to stay.
Shh, 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 shh. Okay. So the other boyfriend, not this one, left.
Right.
And she asked you if you wanted to stay.
Correct.
Under what circumstances?
There was just the circumstances of the groceries and cleaning, and that was the only
Well, then it was still a
agreement.
nice... Listen to me. It was a really nice gesture, because now, according to you, just listen to me. Now, according to you, she no longer had a boyfriend who was helping her share the rent. Now
He wasn't paying rent anyway. Neither one of her boyfriends have paid rent in that place.
Good, so she was covering the rent.
Yeah. She already had paid it for a year. It was paid before she moved in.
This one's as dumb as a bucket of rocks. I swear to you. You're not listening.
I am listening.
Then she was a triply nice person because now she doesn't have a boyfriend living with her, just you and your kid living there rent-free.
No, she moved him in right after she moved her other one out.
So was he paying rent?
No.
So now she got the two of you freeloaders living there rent-free and your kid.
And his kid.
So why didn't you move out?
I was planning on it. I was in the process of that.
But just a second. According to you, you were planning on moving out after 2 months, and you put a deposit down on an apartment. The question is, once she moved this new boyfriend in, why didn't you leave?
I had gotten the deposit back from my other apartment that I was trying to get, and whenever she had offered or asked for me to stay. And then as time went over, I was planning on moving. I was trying to move. I was working on moving, but I didn't have the money at the time.
What'd you do with the money that you got back as a deposit?
I had other bills to pay.
What?
I had a cell phone bill. I have, other bills to pay.
Like what?
I had to buy groceries. I had to buy food.
Groceries and food are usually the same thing.
Well, I'm sorry. Miscellaneous items then.
Like
I'm sorry,
what?
Your Honor.
Like what?
Like what? Bathroom stuff, laundry detergent.
That's groceries.
It's miscellaneous household items, I'm sorry. Plus food. My mother bought food for the apartment twice.
Keep going.
I didn't ask her to stay.
Just a second. Oh. I think she was buying some other stuff with her money anyway. Keep going.
I didn't ask her to stay. It was just kind of it was unsaid, but I did let her stay.
Miss Norris, you just let it go, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about the damage that you allege she...
Okay, there was damage to the stairs, her bedroom. The Venetian blinds are torn up.
Who tore up the Venetian blinds?
I don't know how it happened. I have cats, but none of the other Venetian blinds are torn up from them getting in the windowsills.
That's not true.
Yes, it is. And there was a incident in the bathroom, her and her boyfriend having a little fun, and she ripped the towel rack out of the wall. I have pictures of that.
I'd like to see it. How old was the boyfriend who she had in the apartment?
26, 28.
What's his name?
Her first boyfriend was Jimmy.
Does Jimmy have a last name?
Jimmy, which was Brandon's best friend, and as soon as him and I split up, that's when all the problems started, because he was his best friend.
Listen to me very carefully. Sounds to me as if Miss Norris was doing a good deed by inviting you and your son, who were homeless.
I wasn't homeless, Your Honor.
Well, where were you living immediately prior to her house? Give me the name, person who you were living with, and their phone number.
His name is Shane, and his phone number is 891.
How do you know him?
Because he was a boyfriend and a friend.
He was a boyfriend and a friend?
Yes.
Was he the father of your 5-year-old?
No, he is not.
Immediately prior to moving in with Miss Norris, how long did you live with Shane?
I would say maybe 6 months, maybe.
Prior to living with him, where did you live?
I had an apartment.
With whom?
With myself.
Where is the father of your 5-year-old?
In Springfield, Illinois.
Did you ever live with him?
A long time ago, before my child was born.
Who do you live with now?
I live with a boyfriend. We were getting ready to move into a house in Auburn.
And what's this boyfriend's name?
Scott.
So far, I know of at least 3
There were
men.
over years of period of time.
No, listen to me very carefully. So far, I know of at least 3 men to whom you have introduced your son.
And that I was with for a long period of time. With
He's
each
only
of them.
5, madam. He's only 5. Grow up. You made a baby. Anybody
And I
can
take
make-
care
I'm
of my
speaking-
child.
Anybody. You didn't take care of him. If you had to move in to this lady's house.
I still have my child, and my child's doing very well, and he's in a very well school. Very well clothed, very well taken
He's at a
care
very
of.
well school. I have to write that down. Send it over to Webster's.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It's nice to do nice things for people who appreciate them. This woman clearly does not. There's something wrong with her thinking process. Do you understand?
And later today,
So what you're saying to me is people moving around like idiots to heavy metal music, flailing their arms, etc. And it was when you were doing that you knocked out his teeth.
they had no agreement to pay rent.
Now I want you to tell me about this loan that you alleged that you made to her.
We took a trip.
Your Honor, this trip, there's 2 other people that she bought tickets for on this trip that did not pay her back. So I do not feel that I owe her money on that trip. She knew that I was not able to pay for that trip and that I did not want to go, but she needed me to go because she needed me to participate in her set. It was a dance competition. She needed me to participate.
Your Honor, I paid for...
When was this trip?
In March.
Where did you go?
We went to Baltimore, and I paid for the plane ticket, and, I told her I would pay for it. I didn't want money back for that because...
Fine. then we don't have to deal with it.
Right.
So you just have to deal with the damage that was done that I see in the house. You want to tell me how much it's going to cost to fix that?
They said $35 an hour to fix everything. We went and got shampoo for the carpets and stuff, and that was about $30. I have on my lease, and her name is on the lease, and at first, she's right, there was no agreement. But she did agree me to pay $100 every week until she had me paid off, because I had gotten very upset. My boyfriend Brandon and I wrote out a list of what she would owe me if I had been charging her for everything. And she found that piece of paper with everything on it, and she sent me a text message saying she would pay me $100 a week until she got it paid off. My boyfriend saw it. I do not have the text message. I didn't think I would need it, but my boyfriend saw it. This is Brandon.
No, listen to me. Don't even bother. You do not have a contract. If you say that she signed a promissory note, I need the note. If you don't have the note, I do not take oral testimony about a written contract. Do you understand?
Yes.
I'm just telling you I'm trying to explain the law to you. You cannot introduce oral testimony of a written contract that you don't have. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay. So far, let's say that she owes you $250 for the damage to the apartment. You didn't expect to be repaid for the plane ticket, and you had no contract for rent. And I'm going to suggest something to you, Miss Norris. It's nice to do nice things for people who appreciate them. This woman clearly does not, and did not. You should have put her out before. And I know that that's sometimes a hard thing to do because she's got a 5-year-old child who's probably very sweet. But if you really expected her to reimburse you for money, then you should have put her out before. I mean, she thinks, well, just because she prepaid the rent for a year, it's no skin off your nose if she and her child live there. Well, that's outrageous. I mean, if I had a mortgage and if I prepaid my mortgage on my house for a year, she'd say, well, so what? So the whole neighborhood can move in because what difference does that make to her? She's already paid it. There's something wrong with her thinking process. Do you understand? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $250. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Sorry to see a friendship that had end like this.
She just has no respect for anybody.
Well, she's not going to have my friendship anymore.
That's the kind of person she is, obviously.
That's how I'm going to repay her.
Well, I'll never have a friend move in with me again.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Malloy versus Muse. Step forward, please.
19-year-old Timothy Malloy and his mother, Paula, are suing Timothy's former friend, 23-year-old David Muse, for money loaned to have his teeth fixed.
Mrs. Malloy, this is your son.
Yes.
And the defendant used to be his friend.
Still is.
Good. This is your complaint. Your son and the defendant were at some sort of musical event. They were bandmates and friends. And this was some time ago. And at the event, your son accidentally, I assume accidentally, since they're still friends, punched the defendant or hit the defendant in the mouth, causing him to have 2 teeth that came loose, both of which required substantial dental work.
Yes.
At the time, your son was 17 years old.
Yes.
You claim that you loaned the defendant money for the dental work because he didn't have insurance and he did not pay you back.
No.
That's what your lawsuit is about. Mr. Muse, as a defense, says that your son was responsible to pay for his dental work since he was the one who knocked out his teeth. Since he was a minor, that responsibility fell on you. He has a counterclaim for the dental work, but the lawsuit itself resolves that issue, Mr. Muse. You understand? And as far as lost wages are concerned, I don't think that that was originally part of your claim. I don't know why you filed for that.
It was originally part of the counterclaim.
I understand it was part of the counterclaim, sir, but since Mr. Malloy is still a friend of yours, and I understand from his mother that there was a time when you lived in their home after this incident, I don't think that your lost wages became an issue until she sued you for the dental work. That be a fair statement?
The money that I did pay her while I was there could be considered as a sort of a rent for being there.
What does one thing have to do with another? Didn't you understand what I said to you?
Yes.
I said to you that countersuing for your lost wages doesn't seem to me to be something that you would be suing for unless Miss Malloy was suing you for the dental work.
And I also have other dental work. I had the root, she paid for the root canals. I also accrued over $1,000 in other dental work that's not paid for.
That I will consider.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
But his good luck was having someone he knew knock out his teeth and not some stranger at the show. Then he would have had no recourse.
He was very, very lucky. He was very, very lucky.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Timothy Malloy and his mother Paula claim David Muse owes for a loan to have his teeth fixed. David says it's Timothy's fault that his teeth were knocked out while they were moshing at a concert.
So let's get to your lawsuit. First of all, how did you knock out his teeth?
I was moshing at a show.
What's moshing?
It's a form of dancing at like heavier music, like metal or hardcore, where a bunch of people run around, swing their arms and legs, and accidentally hit him in the mouth.
So what you're saying to me is people moving around like idiots to heavy metal music, flailing their arms, etc., right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was when you were doing that that you knocked out his teeth?
Yes.
Does that be a fair statement?
Yes.
So whose fault is that, sir?
I guess I would say it was mine.
I guess you would be right.
But he should take some responsibility for being in that situation.
Absolutely not.
He should be aware of what's going on
Absolutely
around
not,
him.
Miss Malloy. That's like saying that when you're driving on a highway and you're doing 65 miles an hour, and if there is an accident because a car veers off and hits you, you should be aware of the fact that if cars are going 65 miles an hour, you could get hit. Therefore, it's partially your fault. That's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous assertion. Do you understand?
I understand. I've been to these shows. I stand off to the side because I know what's going on.
Well, you're a different person. But would you agree with me that if you and 10 other people are on a highway traveling 65 miles an hour, you know that if there's an accident, you could get hurt?
Yes.
And that some people don't drive as safely as others?
Yes.
And if you're in a car accident, would you think that the other person who did something wrong, who caused the accident, would have a defense if they say, well, if you didn't want to be on the highway where you were going 65 miles an hour, you should stay home? Is that a ridiculous defense?
Yes.
So is yours. Your son caused the accident, caused him to have 2 teeth that broke. It's his responsibility. And since he's 17 years old, it becomes your responsibility because he's a minor. Especially since if you tell me that you've been to these events and you know that's what happens, and if this is your minor son, you should have kept him home.
But now he never blamed Timothy. He came to me and it was a loan.
I am telling you that it's Timothy's responsibility and it falls on you. And if he wasn't smart enough then to say, listen, he caused the accident, he should be paying for the dental work. He's smart enough now. It's your responsibility. How old are you?
23 now.
And you were 22 at the time?
Yes.
You're 18 now?
19.
19?
Today.
19 today?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do?
I'm a musician.
Do you make a living at it?
At the moment, yes.
You do?
Yeah.
You should stop paying your mother back for the money. Why don't you?
I don't have the money.
Why not?
Because I don't have that much. I don't make that much.
How much do you make?
Not a lot.
How much?
It's not set yet.
Yeah, it just started.
Oh, good. Well, you're 19, so you should stop paying your mother back for the money. And he's got more dental work. What do you expect him to do with those bills? It's your fault.
Pay for them?
Right. That would be right.
Your Honor, he has made payments to me for the money, which
Well, he was absolutely wrong to make payments to you.
Well, when we started out, it was a loan.
He was absolutely wrong to make payments to you. And the fact that you conned him into thinking that he was responsible for his own dental bills is a problem.
I didn't con him, Your Honor. He took responsibility for it.
He was not responsible. Your son was responsible.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
He was not responsible for getting punched in the mouth and for having 2 teeth knocked out of his face. Your son was responsible. And if he would have been 18 years old, there's no question, he would have been responsible. He would have paid. The question is, he wasn't 18 years old. He was 17 years old. And therefore, his mother, who knows what kind of actions go on there, because she said, I go there myself and I stand off to the side because I know it can be dangerous. You allowed him to go there.
Yes, but David
Even worse.
was moshing at the time also.
Even worse. He didn't hurt anybody. If he had hurt somebody, he would have been responsible. If he had knocked out your son's teeth, he would have been responsible.
Yes, Your Honor, but his good luck was having someone he knew knock out his teeth and not some stranger at the show. Then he would have had no recourse.
Oh, he was very, very lucky.
He was
very, very lucky. Your claim is dismissed, Miss Malloy. He owes you absolutely nothing. You and your son, on the other hand, owe him on his counterclaim $1,123. Thank you very much. That's all.
Yeah, this is case number 417 on the calendar in the matter of Schindler versus Barone.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Sheindlin, Mr. Barone came to live with you. He was a friend of yours. According to your complaint, Mr. Barone had you falsely arrested for both assault, and he told the police that you were growing a controlled substance in your backyard, which you say was not true. It was actually Mr. Barone who was growing this controlled substance, and the altercation that resulted in the police being called had to do with your discovery of that. Mr. Barone says that you did in fact assault him. You were, in fact, growing a controlled substance in the backyard, so he did not falsely report criminal activity because everything that he said was true. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ever been arrested, Mr. Barone?
Yes.
You want to tell me when you were arrested?
I was arrested for possession of paraphernalia a while ago.
What kind of paraphernalia, Mr. Barone?
I think it was blunt guts. Do you know what that is?
You're going to tell me.
Okay. If you take a cigar, you cut it down the middle, the stuff
And then
that's
what do you
inside.
put inside?
Whatever you want to put inside, man.
What did you put inside?
Some weed.
Some marijuana.
Yeah.
And in what year was this arrest? Just before you give me an I want you to try to think very carefully. In what year was that
I have
arrest?
no idea, to tell you the truth. I mean, it was so long ago.
It can't be so long ago, sir, because you're only 26.
Yeah. Well, I would say probably 3-4 years ago.
And since then?
I've been good. Oh, I had a DUI. First and last, I promise.
Ever been arrested, Mr. Sheindlin?
Yes, Your Honor.
For what?
I have been arrested for burglary and assault.
When?
The assault charge, I believe it was 2001.
And the burglary?
The burglary charge took place in 2003.
Ever arrested for any crimes involving drugs?
I have been.
Go ahead.
Paraphernalia charge.
When?
It was with Mr. Barone in 2001, also on August 2nd. For
This case?
For this matter, yes.
Why, did you think that this was going to be easy, Mr. Barone?
No, of course not.
If you did, it was a big mistake.
I love you. You're the best.
You're right.
Being honest.
You're right. Get in line. There's a long line.
I know, I can tell.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Long one.
I believe it.
Now, Mr. Sheindlin, when did Mr. Barone move in with you?
He moved in the end of May.
And when is it that you allege that you found these marijuana plants growing in your backyard?
It was on the morning of August 2nd.
And with your hands, Mr. Sheindlin, I want you to show me how big the plants were.
This being the pot that they were growing out of, I'd say roughly about here.
About 2.5 to 3 feet.
Correct.
So let's say Mr. Barone moved in the end of May. So we had June and July to plant little seeds, right? And then for these plants to grow. I am not an expert in everything. I know that that surprises you. So do we have an estimate as to whether or not marijuana plants can grow from seeds to 3 feet high in 60 days?
I believe they can. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert either.
Bert, have you ever heard of people growing marijuana plants?
Sure.
Do you have any clue as to whether or not a marijuana plant can grow to 3 feet high in 60 days?
I have no idea.
Okay, now, Mr. Sheindlin, now you can tell me all about your cause of action, which you allege that Mr. Barone falsely reported that you assaulted him and that you were growing marijuana in your backyard.
Correct.
Go!
On August 2nd, the morning, I had gone outside and noticed that my garden hose was extended all the way to the end of the yard. So I had gone back to the end to recoil the garden hose. When I'd gone back, I'd noticed that in the back, behind bushes, were marijuana plants growing.
Go ahead.
So when I had discovered these, of course, I was curious. We live in the house with a 4-year-old child of ours. My immediate instinct was to destroy them and call her, my girlfriend, and tell her to come home and that we need to kick Dominic out of the house because I had noticed that, you know, I don't grow marijuana. So, I mean, this has obviously been planted by him. And when she had come home, she had Dominic drive her home because they work at the same place, the job that I had gotten him. When they had come home, I had confronted Dominic, told him that he needs to move out of my house.
Did you tell him why?
I did. At that time, he had jumped up and pushed me down onto the couch. And then he had strangled me. My girlfriend was present during the entire thing and witnessed it, was screaming at him to get off of me. After about 2 minutes, when he finally did release me, I had called the police. At that time, Mr. Barone had ran upstairs to our bedroom and had threatened to destroy our belongings if I did anything or made any actions with the police. I had then noticed that I really can't do much at that moment, and I had gone to the courthouse to file a peace order.
So you didn't wait for the police?
I did not, Your Honor, because I honestly was a little frazzled from the whole incident. It strangled me for about 3 minutes.
Well, you weren't frazzled. That didn't frazzle you.
Ma'am. How can you strangle for someone for 3 minutes?
Mr. Barone,
I
don't
apologize.
speak.
I won't.
When you left the house, who was in the house?
Mr. Barone and Catalina.
And where was your child?
He was with his grandparents.
Okay, so you left this raving maniac in the house with the mother of your child so that you can go to the courthouse. That's what you're telling me.
In so many words, Your Honor, yes.
Well, that's what you did.
Yeah.
I mean, he's upstairs threatening to destroy all your property. You call the police and leave your wife. How tall are you?
4'11".
4'11". You left her with him in the house, and you left to go to the courthouse.
Yes. Poor judgment, I admit.
Very poor judgment, sir. What's next?
I had gone to the courthouse to file a peace order, which I have here, to get him removed from the residence.
I see that.
He also violated the peace order less than a week after.
I don't want to hear about that.
I had then come home. Mr. Barone was already back at work, and I had told him that he's not allowed to come back to the house. I have a peace order against him. When he did arrive at the house, he had brought city police with him and had told them that I was growing marijuana in the backyard, and before he even entered my residence, had these officers searching the outside of my premises. On top of that, Your Honor...
Just a minute. Mr. Barone.
Yes, ma'am.
You were, in fact, at some point served with this peace order, and you did, in fact, appear with an attorney. Now, you appeared at some point before Judge William...
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Uh-huh. Is not an answer. Yes, ma'am. And at that time, you and your attorney, after being fully advised of your rights, consented to the entry of a final peace order.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
You want to explain to me why, sir, if you were innocent of everything that transpired on the 2nd of August, you would consent to the entry of a peace order?
Well, for one reason, I don't know what the heck my lawyer was doing at that point in time.
Oh, I don't believe that for a
really
moment,
don't.
Mr. Barone. Dominic, listen to me, sir.
Yes, ma'am. I had to plead
You're
for
a wise guy. And wise guys always know what their lawyers are doing.
Well, not in this point in time, unfortunately.
How did you find that lawyer, Mr. Barone?
He actually helped me with my DUI.
So he was helpful, so he was a good lawyer.
But, no, he knew people in the court. That's the only reason I really got him initially. I mean, I'm dead serious. He knew the judges. I got off on a very lenient, I was on probation for a year. I made a bad decision to move in with someone that was bipolar. He just flipped out one day. When I get my chance, I'll explain it to you, ma'am.
Go ahead. Now I'll hear you.
Great. Okay, I'm at work with, unfortunately, his girlfriend. So I get her motioning towards me. She said, I don't understand. Jason keeps on calling me. He's crazy. He broke his TV with his phone. He ripped the phone jack out of the wall. Could you take me to lunch while you go to lunch? I said, no problem. I'm going to head back anyways. So she comes with me to the house. We get there. Jason's nowhere to be found. The house is torn up, papers everywhere. His cell phone's broken in like 15 pieces. His 55-inch TV is shattered on the front, and Jason's nowhere to be found. So I proceed to, go about my business, getting my lunch. I only have about an hour. As I'm fixing lunch, Jason returns. He doesn't say anything to me, and I understand I have a bad temper sometimes as well. I'm going to be honest. So I left him alone. I don't want anybody to speak to me when I'm angry. I gave him his piece, sat down, ate. It was actually beefaroni. I was eating beefaroni. He went upstairs to talk to Catalina. He comes downstairs and storms out. I hear tires peel. Catalina comes down crying. I ask, what's wrong? She says, I don't understand what he's saying. I didn't know what to say to him. So I was like, look, I can't live here. I'm giving you my 30-day notice now. I can't live I'm on probation. I can't live in a hostile environment like this. So Jason, like I said, returns. I don't say anything to him. At that point in time, I'm finishing my food. He leaves. When he came back, I was sitting on the couch, and me and Catalina were actually discussing the situation, saying, look, I don't know what the heck's going on with him. Why would you break your own TV? And he heard that, and he's like, okay, can I use profanity on here or no?
You can do whatever you want. Like Mr. Barone, I
house.
guarantee you at my age, you can't say anything that I haven't heard before.
I didn't want to disrespect you. He said, get the out of my house. At that point in time, I said, for what? And he's like, oh, because you're talking. So he's trying to antagonize me, trying to get me to, beat him up. And I know he's trying to lure me into it for me to violate my probation. So I'm not violating probation for anybody. I sit down, I'm finishing my stuff, and he comes up and hovers over me and calls me again and puts his fingers to my head and pushes it. It's kind of like a mush or something. So as soon as he mushed me, I got up and I pushed him back. I said, Jason, you come towards me, I'm going to have to defend myself. Jason comes lunging towards me, and I practiced a little bit of jiu-jitsu throughout my life, and I don't know if you know what a guillotine hold is, but it's basically a subduing move. So he kind of tackles me, and I have him in a subduing move. And at this time, I tell Catalina, call the cops, I'm being assaulted. And Catalina's looking at me like she's bewildered, like she doesn't know what to do. So at this point in time, I hear him gurgle, and my intent is not to hurt him. It's just to subdue him. So I let it go a little bit, let him breathe. As soon as that's done, I said, look, Jason, I'm going to give you another chance. I'm going to let you up, but if you come towards me, I'm going to have to hurt you. So I let him up. He jumps over the couch like he's doing hurdles in a sprint and runs to the phone and calls the cops and says that he's being assaulted. So that's where we're at right now, in a nutshell.
Who was growing the marijuana in the backyard?
Again, back to the same statement I said. If I had a house and I was leasing a room to someone that was living at my house, do you think that I would let them?
Don't ask me questions, sir. It's not my job to answer your questions.
Jason was growing the weed. And he got arrested for possession of marijuana that day as well, which is even more
Did you tell the police that he was growing the marijuana?
Well, when I...
Just look at me and answer my question.
Okay.
Did you tell the police that he was growing the marijuana?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you know about the marijuana, Mr. Barone?
I lived there. We both knew. Like him saying that he wouldn't know that there's plants growing on his own property.
Just a second.
It's ludicrous.
I asked you a question. How did you know about the marijuana?
I knew there was marijuana there. It's our backyard.
Just a second. When did you first know about it?
When he first started planting them.
When?
I have no idea.
You said when he first started planting them.
Yeah, they were probably about a little bit bigger than that, seedlings, when I got there.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
And you went to the backyard and you saw these little tiny seedlings back there? Is that what you're telling me, Mr. Barone?
No, actually, Jason was very proud of them and he showed it to me. I was like, okay, I mean, they're not mine. I'm not growing them, so cool.
Who watered them?
Who watered them?
Why does there sound like there's an echo here, sir? I asked you a question. I said, who watered them?
You know what? I'll be honest. Look. I'll be honest. I help water them. I'll be honest. I'm here to tell the truth. I'm not here to lie or deceive anybody. So I smoke weed myself. Yes.
Don't believe me.
Yes. Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What you're telling me just doesn't have a ring of truth to it. Forget him. He doesn't know about the ring of truth. But what you're telling me doesn't have the ring of truth. And I don't know why.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jason Sendler is accusing former tenant Dominic Barone of having him falsely arrested for growing marijuana.
Okay, now stand up. Tell me what happened on the 2nd of August. Look at me, make sure that I get whatever is a legitimate story from you. Okay. Otherwise, you see that? It's nothing compared to what I do to people who are 4'11". Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Go!
On August 2nd, I get a call from my boyfriend, Jason, telling me that I have to go to the house. He also told me that Dominic needs to be out of the house. I couldn't understand why was the reason. He was really upset, so I asked Dominic that I need to go with him to the house. I didn't tell him that Jason told me that.
What happened when you got home?
When I got home,
look at me.
Jason was there. He was pretty upset, and basically he asked Dominic to leave the house because of the stuff that he found in the backyard, and he just needed him out of the house.
Did your boyfriend break the TV?
I don't know. I don't know who actually brought the TV. He was just upset.
Who do you think broke the TV? Look at me.
I think it was Jason because he was upset and he called me, and at the time that he called me, he having interference with the phone.
Whose TV was it?
Or TV.
So he was furious.
He was.
What did you break the TV with, Jason?
My cell phone doesn't work in the house, and it was giving me trouble, and I threw it at the ground, and when it hit the ground, it skipped and bounced into the TV screen.
Are you serious?
I threw it at the ground.
I don't want to hear you.
Directly at the ground.
Mr. Barone, I don't like you. I know how you feel about me, but there's something about you that's very irritating, sir. I think that maybe you should go to some sort of a counselor to help you reprogram yourself so that you won't be such an irritating person for the rest of your life.
I'll check it out. I'll check that out.
I don't believe that story, Mr. Sindler. Do you understand?
I understand.
That's a lot of baloney. You don't break a television when a cell phone skips on the floor.
It bounced into it and broke the panel, the screen, in front of it.
People deserve each other. Mr. Sindler.
Oh, that's low.
Mr. Sindler, I tend to believe you about a couple of things. I tend to believe you, sir, that it was Mr. Barone who started to grow this marijuana in your backyard. Tend to believe you. Not sure. I also find it really unusual that someone doesn't see contraband that he is familiar with because you had a prior drug arrest growing in your backyard. So something else is going on, Mr. Sindler. I don't know what it is. What do you think it might be?
I'm not sure exactly what you're getting at, but as I explained,
I don't know what it
bushes were-
is, Mr. Sheindlin. I don't know why a man like you, who, according to you, is faced with somebody who is out of control, would leave the mother of his child at home to fend for herself while he gets in the car and goes to a courthouse when the police are on their way. I don't understand that, Mr. Sheindlin. It doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, I'm not getting the full truth from either one of you. Can you understand my consternation, sir? Can you understand why what you're telling me just doesn't have a ring of truth to it? Forget him. He doesn't know about the ring of truth. But what you're telling me doesn't have the ring of truth. And I don't know why.
Well, what I can honestly say is that when I had left, as I had admitted before, it was poor judgment, but at the same time, I was also upset with my girlfriend the fact that she didn't make any attempts to contact any police during the time that he was attacking me. Like I said, bad
Why do you
judgment.
think that is, sir? Why?
Because I was pretty scared of Dominic's actions, and
why weren't you afraid for Jason?
I was afraid that what he will be able to do in the house, and he said that he will definitely destroy the house. He burned the house, and he will, you know, basically kill us, my kid and myself and my boyfriend.
That's what I'm asking you. I don't understand how Jason could have left you alone with what he says is a lunatic.
Basically, he was just trying to get the pizza to get him out of the house, and we got him out of the
Who
house.
pled guilty to the possession of this marijuana?
My charge was dropped, Your Honor, which I have proof of
I'd
here.
like to see it. What about yours?
No, mine, I did the community service again.
I'm asking you what happened with yours. He says his was dropped. What
Mine was
happened
like
with yours?
A no proseque or whatever you guys call that.
That means that you pled
Yes.
nolo contendere.
Yes, again, with the lawyer. That's why I no longer have him.
Gotcha. Mr. Barone, Mr. Barone, if I knew the kind of assistance to offer you to make you into a more affable person, and one
You don't
that
even
is
know me.
more, and yeah, I do know
No,
you.
you don't.
I do know you,
No,
sir.
you
I've been in the justice system for 30 years. Believe me, I know you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,500. Excuse me, you're only suing for $2,000?
Actually, Your
I would
Honor.
have given you more, sir,
Your
because
Honor, if I
I'm
may.
speaking.
All right, no problem.
It's crazy.
Because Mr. Barone pled guilty to the growing of marijuana.
No, it
Nolo
wasn't
contendere
growing.
is,
It
I'm
was
speaking.
paraphernalia. Well, get it right
I'm
then.
speaking.
If you're gonna say it, then speak. Get it right.
I
It was
always get it-
paraphernalia.
I
No,
always
you
get it
didn't,
right,
because
sir.
I didn't get charged for plants. It was paraphernalia of a scale.
Oh,
Yeah.
of a scale.
That he put in my bag.
Of a
Yeah.
scale.
You haven't seen any of
Perfect.
my.
Judgment for the plaintiff in
Great.
the amount of $2,000.
Happy birthday.
That's
Merry
all.
Christmas.
Step out.
Yeah, it's case number 399 on the calendar in the matter of Fragano versus Peterson.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, ma'am. Please have a seat.
Mr. Fragano, you and Miss Peterson were in a relationship and decided to do a little commingling of your assets.
Yes.
Very dumb.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is this the first time you've ever done that with a girlfriend?
Yes, we were engaged to be married.
Did you get the ring back?
No, she kept it.
Where's the ring?
She took it.
Where's the
I
ring?
have it with me, Your Honor.
Good. Can I have it, please? Very lovely. You don't want this engagement ring, do you? Perfect.
No, I don't.
And Mr. Fragano, you do want it back, I assume.
Yes.
Yeah, she doesn't want it. And you want it back. And you should have it back. Because we're going to resolve everything so the two of you can go your own separate ways.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay? Perfect. See how fair I am? See how fair I
I
am?
appreciate it very much.
That's it. Don't get used to it. Yeah. Mr. Fragano,
Thank you, sir.
I'm a very orderly person. We want to deal with one thing at a time.
Okay.
The first thing that you want is some money, because you claim that Miss Peterson sold some items of yours, I don't know, baseball cards, videos, whatever they were,
Video game collection.
on eBay,
Yes.
a system that I wholly do not understand, nor do I want to understand it at my stage in life. Miss Peterson acknowledges that she sold these things for you on eBay because she knew how to do it, and she acknowledges she has some money that she's holding that belongs to you, right?
Right.
How much money are you holding from the sale of the items on eBay?
It's like $630.
Okay, so far you have $630 on your team and the engagement ring. Then you say that there is a computer,
Yes. An Alienware laptop.
which Miss Peterson says she does not have, correct?
Correct.
And you've never had it in your possession.
No, I have not.
So you purchased a computer online.
Yes.
And tell me what happened, sir, why you think she's responsible for this computer.
I sold my video game collection for purchasing the laptop. Also for extra money for her birthday on November 2nd. I purchased a laptop from the seller on eBay. I transferred $645 from my account into hers to pay for the item, and I have not received the item because of her. She waited out on the 23rd, I do believe, of October for the laptop. I went there with my father. I had my evidence, which I had already showed to the postmaster. He said there's nothing he can do, it has to go to the address. So I went to the mail lady. They looked at my evidence. They said just bring it right back to the post office. Do not even let her know that it's in the mail truck. She yelled at my father, don't touch my mail. She saw the laptop in the truck, tried to get it. Her girlfriend was there as well with the kids. I called the cops. I have a police report on that as well. The laptop went back. She tried to claim it. She does not have valid ID for Jennifer Frugano.
But it went back.
It went back to the seller, yes, and I did contact him, and he told me over the phone that I was a sick SOB.
Then you have to sue him because he's got the laptop back and
well,
your money.
He told me that he was sending it back to her.
But she doesn't have it, and I believe her. And you've never had it in your possession.
I have not.
Nor has anyone in your family.
No.
Okay, so he hasn't sent it back, and the seller has $645 of your money.
Yes.
Well, that's intolerable. So you have to sue him?
Can't contact him. I got him once. I sent him multiple emails. He never responded once. And I have proof of them corresponding. He made his sale private, and she made it private as well. So they're corresponding together, working together, and I know that I don't know for a fact that she has a laptop, but I do have tracking confirms up until the point where he received it.
But then you saw that she didn't get it.
Well, no, if he remailed it, it wouldn't be tracking confirmed no more. It would be under a
I
different
guarantee he didn't remail it. You know how to reach him?
Yes.
Okay, because you have a counterclaim, so this is what we're going to do. All this is very unfortunate. Probably the seller who sold the computer, and when was that? In what month?
The sale of the laptop was on, hold on. Wow, I had everything so organized. Now I'm on
October?
Oh, so it's recent.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to entertain your counterclaim. Everything that you may get a judgment for in your counterclaim is going to be stayed until you contact the owner of the computer and have the owner of the computer send the computer to you. What?
He said he'll ship it as long as somebody pays for the shipping again.
Okay.
So
I had already agreed
he
to
wants
do
to
that.
contact him.
So he's going to pay for the shipping again.
Okay.
But you're going to get the computer. You're going to get nothing on your counterclaim until he has the computer in his possession. Do you understand?
Yes.
Is that reasonable?
Yes.
Perfect. Is that satisfactory, sir?
Yes.
Good. Now, Ms. Peterson, we're going to your counterclaim. So now you have money and you have your computer. Other than doing what I've told her to do, she can't get the computer from this guy if he's not going to send it. But she's going to try very hard because she's going to tell me what she wants from you, some of which I think she's entitled to, and she's not going to get it until you have your computer. So she's going to work real hard to see to it that you get your computer. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, your counterclaim, Ms. Peterson, says that the two of you did a ridiculous thing. You purchased this car. You used a car of yours as a trade-in.
Yes.
Down payment for a car that the two of you were using together.
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a Sebring convertible, which is mine. I have purchased her 3 cars, a Jeep Wrangler.
Take it easy for a while, huh? Vincenzo will look...
A nice little place to stay, Tony. It's got you written all over it. We'll head there first.
You're all heart.
FM is beautiful, like a transvestite. A little opera, just for a change.
Jesus, Tony, you drive like a bitch! Watch the goddamn car!
that for? Get the hell out of the way. Hey, family's family, you know? What? Do I amuse you?
No pineapple, no
I'm like a psycho ninja, putting poison in ya. But I'm done with ya. You be my prisoner. I'm like a psycho ninja, putting poison in ya. When I'm done with ya, you be my prisoner. Come on.
Boy, if that don't make your pinky stinky. DJ Michael Manual Override Hunt is going all day.
Not see me, bud.
Listen to some important messages from our sponsors. This is Head Radio. I'm Michael Axewound Hunt.
Head Radio. We're better than other stations.
Because nobody wants the lips.
Here's the big detail.
Ribbed and quilted for pleasure, an expensive brand that makes me feel superior, even when I'm on the john and constipated as hell. Something expensive, so your poor friends will feel inferior, and it stops those nasty stains right at their source. Know what I mean? It's like a soft, fluffy animal you can wipe your ass with. Koala. Let the bear deal with your behind.
You're on the home of rock and roll, Head Radio, with me, Michael, Eye of the Storm Hunt. You know, since I moved from the West Coast, my missus is riding lawnmower and having a yard. I miss my mom the most, though. God, she was hot. Almost as hot as the chicks in the video for this next song. This one's dedicated to Dan from Ruthie. Dan, you better call that fine woman.
Baby, I got a question. That I was watching you.
live food court extravaganza where DJ Michael, the Love Muscle Hunt, will have the battle of the unsigned bands. Winner receives a gift certificate to Zip. That's where Mike gets all his cool threads. Hey man, that's better than the internet. I say that to Mom all the time. Wear a trunk and wear a dress, anything can happen. Michael, party till you're in Peristalsis Hunt is hitting you with this next one. These guys can really hit that axe.
Hey, so there he is, huh?
Hey.
So listen, Tony, I know you did a good thing first, and I know you've been lying low for a long time.
I got you a nice little place to stay, Tony.